Thank you, CS John Mbadi, for granting us this time to have a discussion around the state of affairs in our country. You sit in a very critical docket, Bwana Waziri. Just, first of all, paint for us a picture on where we stand on the state of our economy.
Thank you very much, Zainab. First, let me begin by pointing out that a number of media briefings that I've had, press conferences, I've always talked about being purposeful, deliberate, strategic in managing our macroeconomic fundamentals. And I think a number of Kenyans were asking, what does that really mean? You know, when you manage your macroeconomics well, it enhances and motivates confidence and brings confidence among the investors and other players. And that demonstrates attractiveness of a country in terms of investment and doing business. And I think now we have been vindicated on that. The International Institute for Management Development, which is headquartered in Switzerland, and a global reputable body, which has ranked Kenya as the best in terms of investment country in Africa. And they base it on, number one, economic performance, 4 critical parameters, lumping together over 300 criteria. And so 1 is economic performance, 2 is government efficiency, 3 is business efficiency and infrastructure. So clearly, number 1 is economic performance. Our economy was initially, let me begin from history, when this government came into office, and even when I came to office as cabinet secretary, our economy was what I would call staggering, almost stumbling. And in fact, you should not call our economy that it was limping. No, it was staggering, about to collapse. We had issues around debt sustainability. The debt elevation was real. In fact, there were signs that we could not even be able to pay our debts. And that signal was being sent to the international financial market. And I would tell you that Kenya was grouped among the 6 countries that were likely to default in paying their loans. And this was by IMF. All the 6, 5 have already failed to pay their debts. It's only Kenya that has survived. And we have not just survived, but we have de-risked the environment to the extent you can see investor confidence back in Kenya as reported in Nairobi Securities Exchange. The other confidence you can, the other sign of confidence is the stability of the shilling, because last year when we were seen as likely candidates for failure, you saw how the shilling lost ground to the extent that we exchanged the shilling to the dollar at over 160. Today, it has stabilized to around 129, 130 and below. So that clearly demonstrates that we have already de-risked our economy from that which was seen as possible candidate for debt default to now on a path to stability.
And that's a fantastic outlook, Waziri. You know, you speak about improved economy, you speak about inflation rate going down, but still on the ground, many Kenyans still do not feel this. There seems to be some sort of disconnect. Why is that reality different?
Well, this is a discussion that has been ongoing for long, and we are alive to it. Many say that yes, the macros are working, but the micros, so to speak, are still a challenge, or individual economies are still a challenge. But let me put it this way. Governments are known for policy direction and policy championing. When you bring it up a policy like to fix the macros, the trickle effect will be on the micro. And it is not instant coffee. It comes gradually. Now, when you have lower inflation, what that means is that the general prices of commodities will either stabilize or increase at a slower pace. But I still also know that many Kenyans are struggling, especially the middle-income citizens in our population. And the concern has been around whether the taxes that were infected in 2023 have hit their pockets. And I will tell you that yes, it did. But we have done a few adjustments in the tax rates, including the tax amendment laws that we did in 2024 December. We are not yet there. We are actually having a strategy to expand the tax base. The moment we bring more people into the tax-paying bracket, we will definitely go a step further and lower the tax rates to individual Kenyans.
But how long do you realistically, expect before Mwananchi starts feeling that recovery in their daily budgets? Because it's a struggle for the Wanjiku who is sitting somewhere in Kiambu or Auma somewhere in Kisumu town. They're saying, I do not understand the microeconomics. That's not our problem. I just want to be able to have at least some disposable income. That's not happening.
But we have enhanced disposable income. If you check the numbers from December 2024, if you look at what we did with the Tax Laws Amendment Act, you will find that so many reliefs were given to the middle-income people. But we can still do much more. And now, I told you this is not instant coffee. Our economy was staggering, almost at the point of collapse. We were categorized as countries which were likely to collapse. Now, that is not an economy that you'd fix in 1, 2, 3 years. You have to be deliberate, strategic in your steps, and we start with macros, because macros would inform the micro. There is no business that you can do. There will be no money in your pockets if you don't have our macros right. What do I mean? Number one, you must stabilize the shilling. If you don't stabilize the shilling and have a runaway exchange rate and volatile exchange rate, it will affect even the people who are complaining today, would even complain much more. You must also manage your debts to make them more sustainable so that you don't, debt service cost is reduced. You give more resources to the economy. Because right now, a lot of our resources are going out there to repay our debts, service our debts. If those resources are reduced through intervention that we have put in place, and I will mention a few later in our program, you will have more resources disposable within. Then you will start giving more support to the economy by supporting education, supporting health, doing projects within the country and creating jobs. I would tell you, one of the reasons why people or Kenyans are complaining that they are not having money in their pockets because of employment. It's probably not because of salaries have gone down. Because if I was to calculate with you the salary of average Kenyan from 2023 and now, probably the difference is very minimal. But we have so many Kenyans, depending on a few Kenyans who are having income. Now, we must start some projects. You cannot run a country without projects. We must start projects which would create job opportunities to Kenyans, which will expand the economy in terms of consumption of construction materials, etc., and create more jobs to our people. And that we cannot do, or we could not do, when we have a very constrained fiscal space like the one we have. That is why we are now very innovative and creating other avenues of doing our public infrastructure, like the PPPs, like securitization, to have more resources to put. For example, this Rironi Mau Summit Road, how many jobs is it going to create? How many jobs will it create directly and indirectly? How much effect will it have on the economy, especially where we have said that the local content must be over 60%. The sand, the cement that will be used, the stones, the quarry, the stones, the sand, the metals, etc., all the steel that will be used will come from Kenyan economy, and that will grow our economy significantly. So that is the route to take to make people have more money in their pockets.
Okay. I was just checking the World Bank report, the update here. Yeah. It talks about us being at a high risk of debt distress.
Yes.
And looking at perhaps very specific and also very immediate measures that the National Treasury is undertaking or plans to undertake to arrest this fiscal slippage and reduce the country's debt vulnerability.
Yes. Actually, we have been in a high debt stress for quite some time now. Fortunately, the rating agencies have rated us with a positive outlook. So that's now something that you have not picked there. We are under high debt distress, but with a positive outlook. Now, what it means is that we have had very high debt servicing costs, which we are trying to reduce. The first step we had to take, even as late as last year and early this year, was not even first to start thinking about the rates, interest rates, debt service rates, whether high or low. First, we had to demonstrate that we are able to repay our debts. That was the challenge, which now we have de-risked by last year, managing the Eurobond of last year. Excuse me. This year, February, we managed the 2027 liability early enough. And we have managed in September, we managed the 2028 liability early enough. Now, all this compounded have de-risked our economy. Now, we don't have that high risk of default. We can talk about this debt distress. Simply means when you are in a distress, like it is squeezing you. Yes, sure. The fiscal space is tight, which we have owned up to. So how do we free that fiscal space? One, remove major infrastructure projects from our budget, which are consuming money. Take them to PPP models like Rironi Mau Summit, like we have done Galana Kulale, like we have done with the Africa 50 on energy, and we are also doing Sabaki, water. All this we are taking from the budget. When you free, and you can take 0.3% of our GDP infrastructure investment from the budget, about 300 billion from the budget or more. Once you take them off, then the money will be available to provide social services because we have a social contract. Health must be attended to, education must be attended to, security must be attended to, and such like. And the roads which are not commercially viable in the villages must also be attended to. So we are on that path. That is why we have started this new process. And on the privatization and securitization, these other innovative ways of raising funds to fund our infrastructure project without more debt, sovereign debt uptake, and without taxing Kenyans more, because that is not an exception, an option. No more taxation, no more higher taxes on Kenyans. It cannot be accepted. So where do we get money? You can go and borrow. That is not an option for us. So we are thinking proactively, we are thinking strategically, and we are taking off many projects from our budget and freeing the budget and creating the fiscal space. Going forward, that high debt distress will reduce to low debt distress, to no debt distress, and to a healthy economy. Yes.
You talk about innovative measures that the government is initiating or has initiated to manage the economy. Yes. One of those things is, and you've spoken about that, securitization.
Yes.
We've had securitization of this and this. Just break it down for us to be able to understand, how does the securitization process look like for the government? How is it of benefit for the infrastructural development of the country as well?
Well, there are some specific ring-fenced funds that are deliberately ring-fenced for implementation of certain projects or funding certain projects. For example, road maintenance levy fund, which used to be 18 shillings per litre, now it is 25 shillings per litre. We also have the sports fund, we have the tourism fund, and we also have railway development fund. All these are funds for specific purposes. Now, for example, road maintenance levy fund is for maintenance of our roads. However, we have reviewed the whole scope, and we have identified that we are not getting value from that fund. Why? Because of wastages. The application of that fund is not properly regulated. For example, you hear of the 22% going to constituencies, another 10% going to constituencies, another some percentage going to Kukera, Kenha, etc. So what we said as a starting point was like, here we are with several roads that have stalled because of historical pending bills, some dating back to 2005. These contractors have refused to go to site to implement, or rather to conclude or complete the road projects because they have not been paid. And you have money here that is being wasted. And then the government increased through parliamentary approval the road maintenance levy fund to 25 shillings, 7 shillings more. So we said that this extra money, we should securitize it. So what does that mean? What that means is we sell the rights. We create a special purpose vehicle, which is a debt neutral institution, and we sell the rights of the 7 shillings to it, what does that mean? That means that that money is ring-fenced, and through an agreement and through arrangement, it is not available for any other use. So the 7 shillings goes to the special purpose vehicle, which then takes risk for any possible failure to collect that money, which is remote. It's a very remote possibility of insolvency for the special purpose vehicle. So you take it away. Our understanding is that you take it away from sovereign debts, but put it to the special purpose vehicle, which raises funds by issuance of bonds, and it is in progress. So we get money in advance on the 7 shillings for a period, and that money is used now to pay. So
you borrow money against this fund that you've set
It's not borrowing. I want you to understand. It's selling an asset. You have not borrowed. You have sold the rights. The person who is borrowing is that special purpose vehicle. Is going to borrow money to give you the money. It's like you have got money in advance on the basis of that 7 shillings. And to me, it's a practical, more realistic, more value for money approach. Why? Because you've gotten this money, you have paid the contractors, they are back on the roads, and they are starting economic growth. You have removed the pending bills, question around the road sector. You go to the sports, for example. We have been collecting sports funds for years. But what is there to show for it? Literally nothing. This money is being wasted, given 50 million to some constituency. A member of parliament sits in the sports committee and about 50 million to do some shade in a school field, which is used once a year in December when schools are closed. Yet, from 1987, we have not done any sports stadia of international standard in this country. To the extent that even hosting regional tournaments cannot happen in Kenya with ease because we don't have the facilities. We only have Nyayo and Kasarani, more international sports center Kasarani, which were done in 80s. Now, for the first time, we are doing Talanta Stadium, which is an international stadium of international standards. And we can do much more. You can see now almost every county, we are trying to upgrade at least one stadium at a cost of, on average, 600 to 800 million shillings. That would have not been possible if we did not restructure the way we are using the sports fund. So we are, it is a better, more prudent way of using our resources, our funds that have already been ring-fenced for those specific purposes.
Are there any expected costs, perhaps including interest rates on that and the fees compared to the traditional borrowing method?
Of course, when you are getting money from someone in advance, there will be a charge to it. There are interest rates chargeable, but they are much, much lower than sovereign debt interest rates. We have compared the two. Why? Because this one is based on an asset that has been sold to them. So it is a more realistic way of collecting the money, getting their money back. They don't factor into the cost of this facility the interest rates as it would have happened in a sovereign borrowing mechanism. And you see, we don't, our sovereign borrowing has reached a limit that now we have to slow it down.
Let's talk about that. What is the update on our pursuit for a new program with the IMF?
Our pursuit with the IMF program is still in progress, and at advanced stage, we have gone through several stages, including formal requests that I made to them. We have engaged, they brought their team here, which they call fact-finding mission, and the mission was here in the month of September up to early October for about 2 weeks. Did initial assessments. There are data that they needed to update because, again, as an economy, we realized that they have been understating certain receipts like tourism receipts and the re-exports receipts have been understated over the years. So they are working on that. Secondly, we also had an engagement during the spring meeting in Washington, though it was interrupted for me when Baba passed on, I had to come back. But I came back after we had initial engagement, and we agreed that we were going to follow through with another engagement virtual meeting. And so the progress is on. We are waiting for them to come back, and they are doing that sustainability assessment. So we are very much on with them for the next program. But it will interest you to also note that we did not factor in any IMF funding for this financial year. But that does not mean that we are disengaging from IMF. IMF is not supposed to be a financing institution. I think Kenyans also need to understand that. IMF is not a financing institution. IMF should be coming through for us when we are in distress. Why we need constant engagement with IMF is to bring confidence, is to have an institution of repute like IMF continuously assessing our capability and how strong and the performance of our economy. That's why we need IMF. It's not like World Bank. World Bank is slightly different from IMF. Yes.
Let's talk about the draft Sovereign Wealth Fund Bill 2025. I think we have already seen that, but we have not seen the draft Infrastructure Fund Bill. Where are we on that?
National Infrastructure Investment Fund Bill program, it doesn't really have to be a bill as such. We are still looking at modalities of setting up the fund without the bill. It can be through a parliamentary legislation, it can be through a budgetary process. What we may need to do is to have the institution that will manage it. But it is something that we are working on, and we want early next year to have National Infrastructure Investment Fund. Why? Because all the proceeds of privatization, at least between 80 and 90% of it will go into that fund. The rest will go to the Sovereign Wealth Fund. In fact, we want zero for budgetary support. Any proceed from privatization will not go to budgetary support. We don't want to sell our assets and consume. We want to sell our assets and convert it to another asset or put it to future generation. So what do I mean by that? National Infrastructure Investment Fund will be helping us in converting the asset in terms of privatized assets into public, commercially viable public infrastructure projects, i.e. roads that could be tolled, dual and tolled. And we have also the energy sector where we will, generation and transmission of energy can be funded through this fund. We also have irrigation for agriculture and commercially viable irrigation projects. And also in the aviation sector, we could use this fund to de-risk and crowd in private sector to do, for example, Jomo Kenyatta International Airport and many others, to improve our aviation, our transport, our roads, our water, energy, and irrigation.
Would this be a sustainable way of doing things?
That is the most sustainable way of funding our infrastructure. Why do I say so? You see, you need to understand that National Infrastructure Investment Fund is not a budgetary process. We are creating an institution which will help us blend finance. So what do I mean by blending finance? And de-risking investment. You see, public infrastructure, by their very nature, have high risks in general. Okay? So you must de-risk the risk. You must blend. You are bringing in finances from the sovereign, from the country, or from the government. I hope our listeners and viewers understand sovereign. Sovereign is basically like the country. So you bring money from the sovereign, that is the government of Kenya, say 20%. We are thinking of between 10 and 30%, and then crowd in the private sector. You know, you are giving private sector an indication that you have confidence in this project. And then you come together and blend the resources and come like, so to speak, let me loosely call it a joint venture between the government and private investors. The private investors will include pension funds and even international pension funds and other bodies which have resources and want long-term investment which have returns on investment. So you bring them in, you work together on a project, and the resources that come from that, yes, are used to settle off or give returns on equity and loans that will be taken to do that project. So like Rironi Summit, if we did that venture, the government would put in, let's say, 20%, and then the private investment comes in, and you work together, and the returns that come, the government will get its portion, and the other portion would go to the people, the other providers of funds. Now, this portion that comes to government can again be used to securitize and do other roads which are not now commercially viable. in the countryside, like a road in Soba, which may not be tolled, a road in your place, I don't know where your place is, Kajiado, which may not be tolled, but the tolled road, the roads that are productive, the roads that are commercially viable, we put in this system. On Sovereign Wealth Fund, what we are intending is a portion of privatization proceeds should go into that fund. And another source of funding for that Sovereign Wealth Fund will be our minerals and the minerals, like
Oil
if we get
deposits and
oil
all that.
and other minerals, we would also put there. Why? Because these resources will be exhausted. And we don't want to be in a space where the future generation will be asking us, yes, there was gold in Kakamega. How come there's zero? Did it leave some for us? What happened to that generation? So even if we are long gone, it would haunt us. Those of us who believe that there will be life after death. So, in a nutshell, Zainab, these two funds are going to help us in sustainable development going forward.
Concerns about the opaqueness of the nature of the ring-fenced funds, and that transparency and accountability should be at the forefront. And perhaps that is why there is a bit of a stalemate with the IMF conversation.
Not really. By the way, you know, I have been reading that IMF, we have a stalemate with IMF on securitization. Far from it. Far from it.
So there is no...
There is no stalemate. What IMF has asked us is, that we should treat this also as debt. Actually, the IMF hails securitization. That is working everywhere in the world. World Bank has actually agreed with us on our approach, that this is really not putting more risk to the sovereign. IMF feels we should also capture it as debt. That's the only difference.
For transparency?
There is no question of transparency. On the issue of securitization for the road maintenance levy, it is all there. If you want it, you can even Google and see. It's open to Kenyans. We have created a special purpose vehicle. We have sold the right on the 7 shillings. It has been ring-fenced. And we have received money. In fact, to date, we have paid 80% of the road contractors for historical costs. And before the end of December, the Ministry of Road Transport and Infrastructure have promised to clear the remaining 20% with proceeds from this fund. It is open, it is out there. Anyone who wants to see can see. IMF, the documents were given to them. So there is no question of opaqueness. The question of opaqueness is in the minds of the opposers, is in the minds of people who think they know and they have no time to check the facts. It is left for funerals. It has not been discussed in boardrooms. Who has challenged me on the opaqueness? Who has asked me about the transparency? Who has asked Churchill about the transparency? What is opaque? The auditor is there, we've audited it. Because it's a public fund.
Another big concern is certainly the public wage bill. How do you reduce that without creating unemployment?
Well, the only way to reduce the wage bill is, number one, to make public sector efficient. I think it is high time that we spoke about private sector performance-based appraisal in the public sector. So once we make public sector efficient, we will not have this urge of always trying to increase numbers without increasing productivity. And look at government as not as an employment body or institution, but as an enabler, as a policy decision and regulator. Governments are not supposed to be employing. Governments are supposed to create conducive environment for employment. But sometimes we have this tendency of employing, using government, when we feel frustrated that there are so many Kenyans out there who have no jobs. Therefore, the steps that we are taking to make our economy attractive to investment is the right way also to reduce pressures on public in terms of public employment. And I am sure with our the new human resource information system that we are putting in place, we are going to be able to manage the wage bill at least at the rate at which they are today, because I don't see the government having a strategy of or bringing retrenchment as a strategy. We are not going to use that because already Kenyans are we are having so many unemployed Kenyans. But we can make our public sector more efficient and manage our payrolls also efficiently. Let us eliminate ghost workers in our payrolls, and that is why we are integrating the payroll now, with the resistance, of course, from some quarters. But they are not going to succeed. We are integrating, by the end of this year, all the entire national government executive will have been integrated. By June next year, we want all the county governments, executives and county assemblies, to also be integrated, their payrolls to be integrated, to eliminate fraud in our payroll system, which is inflating our wage bills.
What became of the Business Laws Amendment Bill of 2025? We saw a draft, but that has also gone quiet because, you know, it's interesting that there were some changes on the VAT as well.
Well, if there is any law that is coming to Parliament, Zainab, it will go procedurally. You know, we have our internal processes. We don't want to take amendments to Parliament which have issues, which may affect the doing business. So we must subject them to our internal rigors of checking and analysis. And we have a team here in the macros department, the fiscal analysts, people who are looking at the effect and the implications on any suggested tax amendment to the economy and to doing business, and even to taxes. So we first complete that, then we take it to Attorney General, then it will go to Parliament. So and there will be public participation sufficient. So let us...
Still in the pipeline?
We have a few changes that we think we should bring in terms of tax laws amendment bill.
All right.
Yeah.
On issues of corruption, in November 2024, you made reference to Kenya losing 2 billion every day to corruption. It wasn't your assessment fully, but you did echo that long-standing claim once made by then former President Uhuru Kenyatta during his tenure. Nearly 4 years on, where are we in the efforts against corruption in the country?
Yes, you see, President Uhuru Kenyatta, former president, mentioned that Kenya could be losing 2 billion shillings per day. It could even be higher from what people, the assessment and, you know, corruption is even informal. People would discuss it. If there is no corruption, you would know. You don't even have to do any scientific assessment. You just listen to people and you get to know whether there is corruption or not. So there is still corruption. To me, I think where we dropped the ball is after speaking about the 2 billion, no steps were taken to sort it out or to reduce it or to curtail it or stop it completely. And when I said it in November, I was saying if it is true that we are losing that kind of money, then we don't need to go to IMF, World Bank, or anybody else, or even China, to look for funding, right? So that is the reference point. That is actually why I brought that discussion. I did not bring it like I had done scientific study to determine that we lose 2 billion shillings per day. I said a president who has all the machineries, including NIS, DCI, and all that, has come out publicly to say it. So I have no reason to doubt it completely. But then, what was I trying to explain? If steps were taken 4 years ago, as you put it, and deliberately so, probably now we would have reduced corruption to bare minimum, if not eliminating it completely. But no action was taken. Now, you have asked me, what have we done? Are you not aware that in my finance bill of 2025, which is now a Finance Act, it was heavy on reforms? The reforms are meant to deal with corruption. One is e-procurement, and you have seen the resistance. That tells you and demonstrates to you that corruption is real. Because e-procurement is going to help us deal with procurement corruption, which is the single largest item in corruption, procurement corruption. Manipulating prices, manipulating tenders, favoring people even where they don't win. So e-procurement is rolled out for the first time after talking about it for years. We have also, from the National Treasury, implemented Treasury single account. After I'm done with you, 2 hours after I'm done with you, I'm supposed to be before House Business Committee to explain why I'm subjecting the institution of Parliament to Treasury single account. And it's not just Parliament, it's all government departments. Treasury single account is going to help us stop the cherry picking of suppliers to pay. It will be automatic. If you requisition money to pay X, you will pay X. you cannot divert that money and pay why. So there will be no cherry picking. Secondly, it will also curb cases where we are paying, making multiple payment for the same thing. It's going to make efficient cash management. We have human resource management information system that we are rolling out, integration of payroll. Those are areas and ways of dealing with corruption. And we are rolling them out. Look at our budgeting process. Now is more rigorous. It is zero-based. It is not incremental. And we are implementing in the next 1 year or so, we will fully go zero-based budget. Those are the ways to deal with what we used to call budgeted corruption. That is the way to deal with procurement corruption. That is the way to deal with personnel corruption in the human resource, and many others. So you cannot say that this administration and National Treasury, under my leadership, is doing nothing about fighting corruption. We are doing a lot more than any other government previously did.
All right. And I guess we'll be assessing that at the end of your tenure as well. Let's talk about...
when is that?
I'm not predicting anything.
Yes, I thought you have already predicted. Yes.
In August, President William Ruto, and I'm asking you this because you are you have been a legislator for a long time. In August, President William Ruto said rich business people are bribing committee members to push for their interests, for example, altering bills and all that. At the devolution conference still in August, the president said members of parliament are extorting state officers when they appear before house teams. What is your assessment on that as the Treasury Cabinet Secretary?
Let me first talk about it globally, that there is corruption in this country, in all arms of government, including judiciary. We know it. Sometimes we buy justice. Yeah, Zainab. Those who have gone, I've never had a serious case in court. I think I only had some dispute to be resolved through dispute resolution. But those who have tried to access justice have knows that justice has been bought in this country and is continuing to be bought. People have also influenced some decisions in parliament. It cannot be denied. Executive corruption is rampant, both at the national and county level. So corruption is there in the country. Now, coming to your question on the assessment of the president, again, I want to say, President, you know, is a consumer of raw intelligence, as it is put. So he has more facts more than me. But I will tell you this, as a long-standing legislator, 17 years to be exact. When I first came to parliament in the 10th parliament, issues of corruption were really mute. In fact, if you are known, there were 3 members of parliament then who were branded as extortionists. I will not mention their names. Only one is still in parliament, I think, today. 2 are not there.
You can tell us.
No, I will not tell you. That would be dangerous. They were my colleagues. Some of them are my friends, by the way. So let me put it this way. The 3, anytime they were passing by, people could whisper. It was such a strange conversation around you to be branded extortionist in parliament. Come to 11th parliament, we started hearing more of, yeah, there could be some money flying around. You never see it, you hear about it. And you had, I was in a committee of parliament, Public Accounts Committee, which the whole committee was disbanded and because of accusations of corruption. I was a member of the Public Accounts Committee. In fact, we were only 2 of us who survived in that committee, who were not adversely mentioned. But we all went to record statement at EACC, in a statement which I don't even know why I was invited to record, because the only question I was asked is whether I have ever been to the home of the chairman of our committee. And I said, yes, I was there once when we went for some political events in some islands in Lake Victoria. And then they asked me, how does it look like? So I said, so I'm not an architect to describe how a house looks like, but it's a reasonable house, almost close to mine, how mine looks like in the village. Now, what I'm saying is
so
that 11th parliament...
when you are a member of the PAC team, you and another member are the only people who are not implicated.
We are only 2. Who didn't, you know, the strange thing with that committee was that members accused themselves. Yeah, so a member said we were given money, you were given money, another member says you were given money, other member said there was money given for us to share and it was not shared properly. Now, that led to almost all those members being evicted from the committee. But I survived.
So you were clean on that?
No, I don't want to, I don't want to appear like I'm blowing my trumpet. But the point is, if I was the only one who was not mentioned and another member, if I was, why did they leave me out?
Having served,
but
let me ask you this.
Yes.
You're also serving as a cabinet secretary, and we've seen the accusations. So while serving as a cabinet secretary, have you ever been asked for bribes by members of parliament while appearing in front of House committee?
Zainab, I will hold that. If I'm asked, I will not give. I would not give. So let me hold that. Because, I'm just from that house. So I don't want to appear like once I leave the house, then I want to bring it down. That house has also very, very, has integrity, I must say. And our parliament has done very well. Many of our MPs, just a few could spoil the soup for everybody, but very many MPs are of high integrity, I will tell you. I know one MP who came, and is still a member of parliament, who came to my office and asked me, I hear people are being given some money here, but why can't these people ask themselves, if you are being given 100,000 shillings, the person who is giving me, I'm a back in Angapi. So he was telling me, how can I take money, which I don't know its source? So there are people of serious integrity in that August House. So, but when you just say MPs are taking bribes, I think sometimes it may be too much for those who don't. And there are many, but probably the majority.
But there's also a serious indictment on the
There is indictment, yes. And MPs have accused themselves as well. So it's not even just the president saying it. Don't you remember Moses Kuria saying people are being given money in toilets? In fact, now the toilet business came more pronounced in 12th Parliament, and I couldn't believe when people were saying that MPs could be called in toilets and given money. And now that became... I will tell you that the only experience I had with attempted corruption is something I will not talk about here today. I will write it in my book. That's the only experience. But the rest I just hear. Now in the 13th Parliament, it becomes pronounced. So I hope we will have a stop where now MPs will do some kind of a self-assessment and deal with the few errant MPs amongst them who are tainting the image of Parliament. Yet, a lot of good work is happening in Parliament.
All right. Let's shift gears a little bit. We've seen the issue of the goon economy, goon state. There was a report that was done by Odipodev on goon, the goon state, really, in the country. When you look at that and the reality of what it has become, we saw that in the November by-elections. There were a lot of chaos in Kasipul, in Beira North, and the use of hooligans in the election, and not just elections, in the political economy of our country. From where you sit as a key political figure, you sat in Parliament as well, but now you sit in government. Can you honestly say that these goons just appear out of nowhere? Who are they linked to?
And I will tell you, there are a number of causes to this menace, let me call it. This development is very dangerous for our country because you cannot allow criminals to get more confidence and get emboldened and enjoy the space. Criminals should be stopped in their tracks. But we must look at the causes of this mushrooming and coming of the goon economy, so to speak. I am one person who really, because of the position I occupy today, is very concerned about violence. We can picket and express ourselves without being violent. We should not train our children that the only way to express yourself is by being violent. All right? You can express yourself. Look at how people demonstrate across the globe. There is that way of expressing yourself without being violent. But then, what are the causes? Number one, we must accept that we have a population, a very large population, which needs employment. the youth. We must create jobs to our people. But I also tell the young people that it is like between the egg and the hen, which one came first. You can also not grow an economy and create jobs where every day people are burning tires in the streets. Which investor is this who will come to your country? You know, just before the Sabasaba and the commemoration of 25th June, there were so many financial institutions that are signed with us to come to Kenya. We almost lost them because of the chaos that we had across the country. Because they're asking, are we going to put our resources in this kind of economy? So much as we have so many idle youths who need employment, we must also tell them that they should allow the economy to grow to create those jobs for them. Number two, our politicians should also stop misusing the youth. In terms of, because you see, when you fatten a snake, that snake will bite you, certainly. Look at Mungiki. You know the history of Mungiki in this country. We have seen even in Kisumu, some gangs, criminal gangs, started as youth wingers or youth supporters of certain politicians. Later, that changed, because if now you cannot continue feeding them, or their number also grows around you to the extent that now you don't have resources to keep them, they will turn on you, against you. Mm-hmm. They will turn against everybody else. So this thing that we saw across the country in these by-elections must be stopped at whatever cost.
Well, it must be stopped, but it doesn't operate in a vacuum. That report mentions a hierarchy of some sort, an ecosystem where politicians, business people, other people of interested agendas within the society use these quote-unquote goons to, you know, forward their agendas within the society.
Yes.
I mean, would you say, for example, in the by-elections that we saw that ended, politicians have been stand accused of hiring these goons in campaigns and in the elections as well. But let me ask you this. Yeah. My question essentially is this. Would you honestly delink, first of all, that government has no links to these goons?
You see, I don't want us to sit here and apportion blame on one side. Mm-hmm. If you saw what happened across the country, both parties, all the parties who are in this political space played a role in the violence that we saw. If you go to Mbadi, there are people who are fighting. I even saw my good friend, my former speaker, almost suffocating a young man for whatever reason, whatever it was. Yeah, I saw a candidate's vehicle being torched in Malava. And that candidate goes ahead to lose elections. It's not something to celebrate. Mm-hmm. I saw a member of parliament literally beaten in Kasipu, my friend Opondo Kaluma, by youth of a candidate and in the presence of that candidate. Both parties, opposition and government, politicians are to blame. What I would advocate for is that our law enforcement organs should act. Mm-hmm. Like some of the cases are so glaring, where, for example, a vehicle is torched. Are you telling me that with the current technology, that people are not captured touching that vehicle? Can't those youths be dealt with? Then they disclose who sent them, and then that person is dealt with. Because sometimes we arrest some innocent youths whose only crime is that they cannot eke a living, so they think getting 1,000 in a day is worth some risks. But there is someone there with the millions of shillings who is dishing this money, who has caused the vehicle to be touched, and that person is walking scot-free. There is someone who engineered the beating of an MP, yeah, even attempting to run away with a gun, which is government firearm, and you still allow that person to walk scot-free. You see the violence in Mbadi, even a former attorney general, a former speaker, ananyonga mtu, and then you allow that person to go scot-free without answering questions, just because you fear political implications. I don't think that is how we are going to develop this country. I will tell you, the youth during Sabasaba went and burnt someone's and destroyed someone's business. Action should have been taken on those goons by now. And the judicial process should expedite also. So that when we see someone touching a business premise or beating another person, jail for 15 years, 20, then it would deter. No one will dare do that again. But if we do it, then we are let to go scot-free, and another day we do it. What will be the effect? 2027 election may be more violent. Or future elections, it may not be 2027, may be more violent.
There is certainly an indicator that things are not right in the political ecosystem of our country.
It has not been right for a long time. It's not just today. It's only that we have been celebrating that kind of a system. And I will tell you, there are some constituencies where violence is like the order of the day. Across the country, even in our region, we know there's 1 or 2, 3 constituencies where it is almost the order of the day in terms of violence.
All right. Was it that dark Wednesday, mid-October, when Kenyans woke up to the news of passing of Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga? You were abroad for official duties. You cut short your trip to return home. When did you first, or how did you learn of this news?
In the US, you wake up late compared to Kenya because there's a 7-hour difference. So around between 1 and 2 in the US, I got a message actually from my advisor. She's in the room. And that was it. I really tried to avoid replaying what happened at that time. But the rest is history, just as it affected Kenyans. All Kenyans. I got affected. I had to look for the earliest flight back home. That was that evening. So I cancelled most of my meetings, except one with IMF, which when I went for the meeting, thankfully they said, Waziri, CS, we know you can't engage us. We will engage virtually. So I came back home, and the rest is history. Yeah.
What does that mean for you, the loss of Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga?
It is, Zainab, it's not just about me. It's actually about Kenya. You know, Raila was a great loss. But you shared a personal tie with him. Raila was a great loss to Kenyans in the sense that this is someone who actually stabilized the politics of this country, I would say. But many who are doubting saw it when he died. Even people who didn't like him realized that they like him in death. But as a person who has had interaction and engagement with him for over let me say 33 years, because we started our personal contact or engagement and close working relationship in 1992 when I was a first-year student at the University of Nairobi. And he was vying for Langata parliamentary seat for the first time on Ford Kenya ticket. We still Ford, then later Ford Kenya. And there were a lot of, the campaigns in Nairobi was not easy. I remember Umulo Gumo, Fred, who was having Jeshi la Mzee in the Westlands, basically university students from around main campus, Parklands and Chiromo. And then also we had Mwenje at the east, and then we had Kimani Rugendo and Langata and Liki and the rest. And so we had also to give him the backup because we saw some potential in him as young people, and we supported him. I supported him. I was a student leader at Lower Kabete that time. I went to become chairman. That time I was secretary. Now, finally, we continued until when he moved to NDP. Actually, when he was moving to NDP, we supported that move. I remember we had a meeting chaired by the late Kajuang, and he asked whether we should leave Fort Kenya and form another party or we stay in Fort Kenya. Majority of the people insisted we stay in Fort Kenya. That is a party of Jaramogi, party of Mzee Hatuwezi Wacha. But I suggested that we move to another party. And Kajuang was very happy with my suggestion. And that later translated on 30th of December 1996, Raila Odinga announcing the formation of NDP. And we went ahead to campaign for him, and he won his by-election in February, I think, 1997. And then the rest is history. He actually almost disappointed me when we were dissolving NDP to join KANU. But he explained himself, and I later realized that he was right and I was wrong. And yes, so he again, actually the other time that I felt a bit disappointed was when we got into handshake with Uhuru Kenyatta. I didn't feel it was a good move. But he explained to me, and I thought he was right. As to whether he was right on that handshake is now debatable. But
why is it now debatable?
What came out of it to me is zero. Yeah, apart from stabilizing the country.
But there were reasons.
Yeah. So in terms of stabilizing the country, yes. But in terms, it actually brought Raila's stature down a little bit. And but again, did we get much political support from that political wing? I don't know. There's no evidence because
you have the former president supporting Raila Odinga in his bid in the 2022.
How much does it translate into? I don't know. That's why I'm saying it is debatable. You know, it depends on where you stand. Okay. Where I stand, I have very low opinion about that engagement.
All right.
No. Yeah.
You talk about that long history. From 2008, I think that was when you entered Parliament
yes.
as a Gwasi MP.
Yes.
Baba handpicked you as assistant minister in his prime minister's office then. To ODM chair in 2015, minority leader in 2018, nominated MP in 2022, and of course your direct endorsement as cabinet secretary here in 2024. You've often called him a mentor who saw potential where others did not see. Looking back and all these appointments, how did they shape your trajectory and that relationship that you had? You've always been beside him throughout all these years.
You see, there was a bit of a lull between me and Baba between 2004 to 2007. I was more committed now to my work. I didn't get engaged a lot in politics. Then I came back and ran for Gwasi parliamentary seat in 2007. The favorite candidate then was someone who was very close to Baba, the current MP. Karoli Omondi. And we also had Zadok Siongo, who was defending his seat. We had Felix Nyauchi, who was a former MP. So I was an underdog in that constituency. But I went ahead and won in the primaries with 43% of the votes. The rest shared 57, the 9 candidates. And so I got ODM ticket. Of course, there were challenges around that ticket. And when I came to Parliament, Baba was actually surprised, pleasantly surprised, because he actually didn't even know I was running. Because I didn't tell him I was running. Now, later, when we started working very closely as a member of Parliament, I will confess to you here today, and maybe it's not something to confess public, that of all first-time MPs from our region, I was the only one who got appointed to a government position in terms of assistant minister in his office in that first term. Something also that today I want to point out is that my appointment was seriously resisted. First, the systems. Because I was succeeding, I was to take over from the position left by Orowa Jode when he died, which was the assistant minister in the office of the president. But Kimemia refused. He said it is Kibaki who refused, but it is him who refused, because I don't think Kibaki had any serious opinion about me. I am just doubting that. Knowing Kibaki who he was. So he said, I cannot.
So where was the resistance coming from? By virtue of
because by virtue
of
the fact that I was very vocal. You remember, you know, in my first term, I was a very vocal member of Parliament and unapologetic about my support to Raila. And so I think they thought if I go to that office, I would get to know a lot what was happening in the system. So they said they could not accept me. And they were asking Baba to appoint either two MPs. I will not mention them by name. And Baba told them, you cannot choose for me. In fact, it was almost breaking down the agreement, the coalition there. So Baba said, okay, fine, a compromise is I give you my assistant minister, who was Mr. Angati, and then I put Mbadi in my office as assistant minister. That is how I ended it up in Raila's office as an assistant minister. Now, later, when we went for election and we came back, Baba just called me. Recently, I had another very good friend of mine, politician, saying he's the one who called me. That's not correct. Actually, Baba sent Kaweno to call me on 20th. Kajwang died on 18th, and the following day we went to see his body in the mortuary. On 20th, which was on a Thursday, no, 20th, which was on a Friday, 20th November 2014. That is when I was made chairman, not 2015. So when I was called by Kaweno and told to go to Naivasha, I didn't even know where we were going. Later on, I was told to proceed to Elementator Lodge. And when I arrived there, it was like agreed already that I was going to be Secretary General of ODM. The reason why I ended up being chairman is because Ababu literally cried. He shed tears and insisted that he had already campaigned, because he was told, we can make you chairman. But he cried. So then Baba called me aside and told me, take chairmanship. And I said, oh, it's okay. He told me chairman is also a very solid position. Actually, more solid in my view than even Secretary General. So I said, fine. And I became chairman of the party, and now the longest serving to date. And the longest serving while Baba was alive. The relationship between me and Baba was like a father-son relationship. I also viewed him as a father. Because you see, again, my father was born when my father was 70 years. So I think I didn't get that fatherly love much. Maybe I was getting him from Baba. But now, the gubernatorial race, he pulled me out of it. And I think he knew that whatever he tells me, I would accept. But again, he was very candid to me. He told me, I don't want you to be governor, because one, I want women putting pressure on me, that at least I should demonstrate leadership of women by giving one gubernatorial candidate a ticket who would win. And I've looked around at Homa Bay. It's the only place where we have a credible lady candidate. But again, he said, I want you at the national government, at the national state. Orengo has gone home. Nyong'o is at home. So who am I? Who is it that I'm remaining here with? I will make you a minister. And even went ahead and told me which ministry.
So that's
and that is where I am today.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Although at one point it appeared like I would not get that ministry, I would get another one. But I'm back here. So, courtesy of Baba.
You were supposed to get a different ministry.
Well, it reached a point when the political dynamics in this country, you know, the question of ethnicity and all that, now necessitated that maybe a big position like National Treasury would be used to bring in some other, and Oparanya was named in the ministry. And I think I was now going to be in energy.
On the issue of inclusivity within the cabinet itself, I mean, this was part of the broad-based government arrangement that Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga had with President William Ruto. But when you still have a majority of members of the cabinet still coming from one particular group, how does that inclusivity fit into that?
I think we need to, going forward, be deliberate about this inclusivity. With the broad-based, it has changed a little bit. It is not as it were. Immediately, President Ruto formed his government cabinet. But again, you can't fault him now for retaining or maintaining where it is. Because again, if today President Ruto decides to remove some cabinet members to bring more inclusivity, it may be interpreted like a punishment to a certain community, which I don't think is something he intends to do. But look, when Baba was given the 5 slots, I think he made some fair distribution. It may not be perfect because there are just 5. But at least he went to the coast where we have our traditional support. Coast has been supporting ODM for the longest. In fact, outside Luoland, I think Coast has been very faithful in supporting ODM and Baba. Not even ODM, from NDP, I will tell you. Some significant support from the coast. It has increased to where now Baba left it. Look at what happened in Magarini. Yeah, they are even loyal to Baba in death, and they're loyal to ODM. So he gave Coast one slot. He gave Western, which is another very big block for ODM, another slot. He gave Turkana another slot, and brought two to Nyanza. And even Nyanza, I know sometimes someone may term it as trying to be clever, but the truth is, in Nyanza, there is, I am not pure Luo. I am a Suba Luo. You know, that kind of mix-up. Because my father is a Suba. My mother is a Luo. So I don't know where I belong, but I am there. The good thing with the Luo-Suba relationship is that you will never see the boundary. Right. The line is very thin. But still, he did the spread. Brought one to the former South Nyanza, another one to former greater Northern Nyanza or Central Nyanza.
As a technocrat, as a long-standing legislator, is that a good formula in statescraft?
No, the jury is out there for Kenyans to decide or determine. But I think in this position, especially where I am, you need a mix. You need a mix of good understanding of the technical area because, again, you are basically an executive minister. CS National Treasury is having executive powers. I sign here files. Today you are lucky there are no files on the desk because I arrived here very early in the morning. But I sign almost all transactions, all loans, all whatever it is, budget, etc. And at the same time, I am also the spokesman of the ministry. And you know, one of the things that almost brought down, which brought down Finance Bill of 2024 and brought a problem to the government was communication. And so here also, you sit here, you are the CS National Treasury, you must explain the economy, like we have done this morning. You must explain every action or decision that you take. So you need a mix of both. And again, lastly, on political understanding, sometimes I think when you just sit here and do the paperwork and look at the technocrats report, and you may not be alive to the political, if you are not having political understanding, it would be a challenge to you. Because sometimes you also need political understanding. That is when you will know that a 100 million shillings is needed. 100 million shillings is needed in Tana River to do a bridge so that their children are not eaten by crocodile. I keep on giving that example. That is when you will know that Dadaab should have even an inch of tarmac, like we have given them for the first time this year, Dadaab constituency.
Okay. Let's go back to ODM. So
yes.
Right after the death of the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, ODM seems to be speaking at cross purposes, as we saw during the 20th anniversary celebrations.
Well, in every democracy, divergent views is encouraged because it informs and enriches the decisions to be made finally. And what has happened in ODM was expected. I mean, you don't expect such a towering leader to vacate the scene and you expect everything to remain the same. There must be instability. It's like dropping stone in the water. It must stir the water. It's like a big tree falling. There must be casualties. Yeah, some small shrubs must be casualties. The wind, the birds that were perching on that tree must scatter. So that was expected to happen. But to me, the saving grace is that it is settling. And I will tell you that what is important is what the top leadership says and the direction that the top leadership gives finally after everyone else will have ventilated and expressed themselves. And the top leadership is led by none other than the party leader. And the tradition in ODM and even our constitution says the party leader is the only person allowed to negotiate any arrangement, be it coalition or give political direction to ODM. All the rest will say and give their views, but finally the party leader has to give direction. So the party leader as it is today is Dr. Buru Odinga. Dr. Buru Oginga. Dr. Buru Oginga will finally now announce to the country that this is the direction we are taking. After consulting the various party organs. And the party organs are speaking. Well, SG had his own divergent view, maybe with one deputy party leader. But the rest of the leadership, from the party leader, the chairperson, the two deputy party leaders, director of elections, all these people who sit in the Central Committee, I think are aligned in which arrangements we should go into.
But there have been contrary opinions and views. Winnie Odinga has spoken publicly on the same, against the wisdom even to pick Elder Senator Dr. Oburu Oginga as party leader. You served as chairman. Do you agree that ODM should perhaps reconsider that position?
Winnie Odinga spoke, and she has all the rights to speak, yeah, within the party organs. And she's allowed to speak in the party organ where she belongs. So that is fine, because Winnie Odinga is a member of the National Governing Council. She will express herself in the National Governing Council as a member of East African Legislative Assembly, who is a member of ODM. The other people have also spoken. I know Rengo spoke. He's also a governor. He's a significant member of ODM. There is Otiende Amolo has also spoken. There are quite a few others who have also spoken, largely saying that the party should not take the decision as of now. The party leader has also expressed himself, although with caution.
But was there a proper NDC to inform this decision?
Which decision?
Dr. Oburu as a party leader.
You don't need NDC to put Dr. Oburu as a party leader. It's the National Governing Council, which met in Mombasa and endorsed him as the party leader. So now he's no longer acting, he's a party leader. You go to our constitution, that is what it says. So you see, NDC will ratify it later, but NGC has already done it. You know, I've been the chairman of the party, so I know the rules and laws of that party like at the back of my hand. So Oburu is legitimately in the office. But that does not mean he cannot be challenged. If someone wants to challenge Oburu, then you can challenge him. We'll go to NDC and challenge him. But I think largely the membership of ODM have confidence in Oburu. I've not seen press conference in Mombasa people saying, or Coast or whatever, or even Tana River or Turkana or Masaini or even in Nyanza saying they are not agreeing to Oburu's leadership of the party. He has been accepted as a stabilizing factor, and I think going forward we should just listen a little bit more to him. Of course, we also have to listen to voices of Winnie and the rest, and also listen to us, some of us, because some of us also have a feeling that we should not take too long before we take a decision. Politics is about taking advantage of opportunities. So ODM must take advantage of the opportunity they have. And the opportunity they have now is that the president who is leading UDA wants to work with ODM. I think the best thing to do is to grab that and move with it. Why would you follow Gachagua, who has evidently said that is satisfied with Mlima? He doesn't need any other person. Why would the ODM want to wait to negotiate with such a character?
The president said come 2027, ODM will be in government in whatever form, either form government or be part of government.
Yes.
Senator James Orengo said ODM is bigger than William Ruto. Do you share the same position?
You see, I think probably, and I have respect to the two leaders, my president and my friend, Governor for Siaya. The president expressed that ODM must be in government. And the president, to me, spoke with more emotions, having been a former member of ODM, a founder member of ODM. Actually, that is the basis upon which he was talking. And then he said, and he was deliberate. Actually, you probably don't know how ODM found itself in the government. By the way, this thing began, the discussion around whether ODM members should be in government for inclusivity, began before Gen Z revolt. But Baba had not made steps to accept that arrangement until when Gen Z happened, then he saw the country like was going to the dogs and said, now we can engage. So President had expressed interest in working with ODM 3 months after election. Why? I think it's because of his history with ODM. Now, Orengo is also right that ODM is bigger than one individual. You can see ODM is surviving without Baba. Yeah, what Baba is not there and ODM is there. We won Magarini parliamentary seat with a bigger margin than that guy lost to Kombe. You remember Kenga, the Kenga of DCP. He lost to Kombe in 2022 with only 21 votes. But this time he didn't even get 50% of Kombe. Why? Because he chose a wrong party. And no one is talking about that. If probably he ran as independent, if I was to advise that young man, that gentleman, He would have run as independent, he probably would have given us a run for money. But now he goes to a party that coast does not want. DCP, a party that talks about Milima from morning to evening to night to every day. So the guy lost big. In fact, that guy, it's the party that brought him down. ODM is surviving. We won Kasipul again with a bigger margin than even the runners up was 50%. You go to Ugunja, the runners up didn't even get 30% of the vote. So ODM is dominant even in the absence of Baba. ODM can survive even in the absence of Ruto, and can survive in the absence of all of us, because it is a party that has entrenched itself. So Orengo is right there. But if he wanted to, if he was saying that to mean that he doesn't want us to work with President Ruto, then he's wrong. Because where is his alternative? His alternative is to stand alone? For ODM to run alone? No. That one we can't head anywhere. Because experience has shown that you have to form coalitions now to be able to win elections. So if Orengo still thinks, nurses the mindset that ODM can stand on its own, I think that is not correct. We must look for partners and alliances.
But what do you do with the internal voices within ODM party that say Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga had different views on the road that ODM party will take to 2027, whether it is fielding a candidate for the presidential position or just taking a different route than within the broad-based government? You know, this thing about Raila said this, Raila didn't say this. I don't want to get into that. You're the one who started here by saying, I have had a long history with Raila. If I was to assess Raila for you today, I would give you a totally different view and picture about what those people are saying. But I don't want to get into that debate, because Raila is not there today to tell us what he actually meant. Because what I see now is everyone trying to read Raila's mind in depth. How do you do that? It is impossible. Yeah? And this talk of Raila called me, didn't call me. Raila was calling all of us every day, every minute. Let us not go that route. Raila has left us here. First, fact, he left us in broad-based government. Didn't he? He sent his experts there. That one cannot be refuted. It is not disputable. So he left us here. Now he is gone. So we make decision. Those of us who are alive, now we make decision. Let's forget about what Raila intended to do in 2027. Now, the decision is, ODM wants to produce a presidential candidate. Come forward, if you are that candidate, and tell us, today, declare, I, John Mbadi, I declare that now I want to resign as cabinet secretary for National Treasury. I'm going to run for president. Then we evaluate you. Or Orengo, tell us you are not going to defend your seat as Siaya governor, and you want to run for president in ODM, and we evaluate you, or whoever it is, whether it is Sifuna, whether it is Babu, or whoever. Don't just tell us that ODM has produced presidential candidate. Presidential candidate is not an angel that we wait for. And election in 2027, it is determined today. My friend, you cannot wait to run in 2027 for president and win. We are not going to go with you in such a gamble. It cannot pay off. You must prepare for presidential election in 2027 now. In fact, you are even late. So if up to now no one has expressed himself that he wants to be president, and you are telling us ODM will produce a presidential candidate, yet up to now, no one, not even a single person, not even a madman, has come out to say that I'm going to run for president on ODM ticket. Then you want the all supporters from all communities to remain there hopeful of nothing. These supporters of ODM want clarity. We are going to 2027. Who are we going to vote for president? That clarity must start coming out. In a certain clip in Luo or vernacular, you seemed to take a swipe at certain individuals within ODM party, calling them out as self-seekers. Who are you referring to? Well, in terms of self-seeking, everybody is a self-seeker in one way, because we have to think self first. But what I meant is, don't hold the community and its entire membership and supporters of ODM at ransom. The ODM membership have been following Baba because they are seeing hope. They were seeing hope. The reason why the Mijikendas were behind Baba is not because they were Luos. Everybody knows Raila was a Luo. Why would Turkana support Raila? They would support Raila if they are seeing hope in him. The Tesos would support Raila because they are seeing hope in him.
the Northeastern and the rest. Well, the Luos, I don't know, maybe could support Raila because he's a Luo. But all these other communities, for them to follow Mbadi, for them to follow Sefona, for them to follow whoever, Dr. Buru, they must see hope. If for you to demonstrate hope, either you run for president and they see realistic chance in you winning, they will follow you. Or you go with them into an arrangement where they are seeing hope. But if you keep them waiting and telling them, no, we are in this arrangement up to 2027, then we will decide. Who is that who will wait for ODM to decide in 2027? And who tells you that these people must always wait for ODM to decide for them? They have been waiting for ODM to decide for them because there was hope in ODM, there was hope in Baba. Baba could come in 2027 and run for president. So that was hope. Today, who is this giving them hope in ODM that let us stay here and wait 2027, then so and so can come up?
Do you think the party will be intact till 2027?
There could be some people who may leave, but the party will be there in 2027. Even today, see, you saw in Kasepol, deputy governor who was elected on ODM ticket, left and supported independent candidate. And he comes from that constituency. And I'm told even the polling station where he voted, the ODM candidate won. What does that tell you? People will just look at you. You can run away, but they will vote the right way. You know, there's been this perception that this broad-based government is unpopular with Kenyans. Our SG has spoken about it. But the question I'm asking, my SG, is didn't broad-based government win the seats? Is that not a verdict of confidence?
At what cost? At what cost? I've had analysts say the government poured massive resources to ensure that they've managed to clinch these seats.
And you see this talk of resources, how much was deployed when they talk of massive? And didn't opposition deploy resources? They were there. In fact, Rigathi said he will not leave until he won that seat. Kindiki also said, I'm not leaving until I win this seat. Rigathi even went to pick teas with people in the villages and said, the ground has spoken. UDA is not getting even 5%. Even if it was rigged, do you think UDA didn't get 5%? So let us be factual. Yeah? The facts are that the results of this by-election has proved that Ruto is still competitive. Broad-based government is not a bad idea after all in many areas in this country. In terms of resources, do you know independent candidate in Kasipo had resources, a lot of which we don't know the source also. Just like they were saying they don't know where our sources of our resources came from.
So basically these by-elections were...
The Kenyan by-election, the Kenyan elections are still commercialized, and I think that is something that IBC needs to work on going forward. There was a legislation that had capped the amounts to be spent. I think that was again removed. We need to think through seriously whether we are commercializing political representation or not. It is a sad thing. Because you see, when people buy seats, they don't represent you effectively. But saying that it is money that influenced that by-election is not correct. I will tell you, I've participated in elections in this country. A party that is hated in an area can never win, even if you pour resources as much as what. So let us accept that in the mountain, more particularly Barren North, there is significant presence of UDA up to now. Going forward, we don't know. So and that has debunked and demystified Rigathi Gachagwa's assertion that he's the king of the mountain. It is debatable. He has not proved it.
So basically these by-elections were a contest of might between Rigathi Gachagua and President William Ruto?
No, it was not even Rigathi Gachagua. I think it was billed, and it is the opposition that brought it as a contest between them and the government. Okay? There were people, even in our mix in ODM, who have been saying that broad-based government is very unpopular. I remember sitting next to one leader of the opposition in the burial of Baba, and you know, the ground is very bad. I remember when I was in Kisumu, I met another friend of ours who supported Baba and is now, of course, not very happy with our broad-based arrangement. And he told me, let me tell you, Luos are so divided. Yeah? And he's from Central. He's telling me, and I'm from that community, that we are so divided. So I didn't respond to him because I know our community.
So the broad-based government is not worried about the influence of the growing opposition within the political space?
Not that. You know, I'm a different kind of politician. I would be worried about anything. Competition is competition. What I am saying is that what we were fed on before these by-elections, we are not being fed on again. In fact, now the conversation is whether the elections were free or fair or what. Saina, to the extent you hear people talking about ballot stuffing in this era, I don't know people looking for excuses. You can't have ballot stuffing today unless you have crazy agents. How can ballots be stuffed? Election today can be rigged before, not during counting and after. It is very rare. So these guys should just accept that on this one, they missed the mark. Okay. But for us, we must also evaluate. We didn't do very well in Kisii. Yeah? Broad-based government. We didn't do very well in Kisii. We must evaluate that again. Because Kisii used to be ODM stronghold. We didn't even field serious candidates there. Instead, UDA made a better showing than us. Then you come to Western also. I think we need to check why the gap seems to be narrowing. It should be larger because you see Ruto had his support base and ODM had his support base. So we need to see how to synergize.
If you consolidate that support base, it
so
should
we
have
need
been
to look
wider.
at those areas. But to me, the results of Coast, very reassuring. The results from Nyanza is vindicating us. The results from Northeastern, very assuring. And even Rift Valley. But we need to check whether we need to do a little more in Western. And we need to check the mountain to hold our ground. Because the mountain is not gone completely. This result has demonstrated. Because Embu is the deep inside the mountain, in my estimation.
All right. Let's wind up on the ODM party. This is interesting because it really sparked a lot of debate, yeah? So the burial of Raila Odinga, the president actually laid a stake at the party, and also during the party's 20th birthday, he claimed he was a stakeholder, and indeed, he was a founding member of ODM. Do you think President William Ruto will seek re-election using the ODM party?
No, I can't decide for the president. He can choose which party to run on. It may not be ODM as such because, again, he also formed a party which he cannot just abandon. Probably there is need for us to to start accepting that there is going to be some coalition around UDA and ODM in 2027. And then the president would run on that outfit. Up to now, I don't see a serious challenger if we have such arrangement to the president. Because if there was one to run against him, we would say, yes, we will make a decision around that time. But as at now, if ODM and UDA were to work together, then I don't see any other challenge to the presidents in terms of our candidate. But staking a claim, yes, the president should. Because he was a founder member of the party. And again, he didn't leave ODM because of ideological differences. Actually, the president left ODM because of the ICC cases and the politics of Rift Valley and whether we... So there were just personal issues between him and former party leader and Raila Odinga. And I think also President Ruto wanted to grow. And he felt that he was not going to be able to grow well under ODM, where Raila was the leader and Mbadi was second. In fact, those of us who were in that space, we knew that he wanted to be second to Raila because he's an ambitious politician, and every politician must be ambitious. And that is why we even created a second deputy party leader for him. Actually, ODM used to have only one deputy party leader. We created that position for him, which he got for a period, and then he bolted out. And then, unfortunately for us, Mbadi also took off after Ruto had left. And there was an attempt towards the 2013 election to bring him back. And we almost succeeded, but again, then Uhuru pulled the first one on us again.
So it's not closed off or shocking to see President William Ruto going to 2027 under an ODM ticket? You will not be shocked.
If he chooses to run on ODM ticket, although I think the best would be to have an arrangement where UD and ODM is a kind of arrangement, coalition. I'm not calling for dissolution of parties. I'm not an advocate of dissolving political parties. But we could run an arrangement like we had Azimio, we had NASA, we had CORD, and we had such kind of arrangement. So we can have a similar arrangement between ODM, UDA, and other like-minded political parties. There is also Ford Kenya there. Kenya Kwanza coming together with ODM, forming some outfit that would have Ruto as presidential candidate, and running mate is decided there, and then we also discuss other positions and in the context of how does it help Kenya. Right. Because you see, we have the 10-point agenda, which needs to be worked on. So any arrangements must be in line with that 10-point agenda. Otherwise, we would let Baba down.
Just like his father, Jaramogi, Raila died without having appointed his successor. And, there are those who say, in terms of ODM, there can be appointments. But when it comes to the community, a natural leader is born out of that because it is the community who chooses. What makes you think you're going to be this Joshua who will be taking over from Moses?
Baba Raila Odinga had a mission. And he picked up from his father, yes. It was never given to him. He came out, explained himself to Kenyans, first to the community, accepted him, and Kenyans in general, and became a national leader. He became bigger than the Luo community. We may not replicate or do the same. The circumstances are completely different, all right? I would tell you today that people have mentioned it. Baba's shoes are bigger. You cannot fit in them. They are big. But what I keep on saying is, among us, we can still live Baba's dream. And no one will come to your house. No one will come to my home in Sayaka and tell me, we want you now to take over and run. What I do is, first, I look at what is the deficiency? Where should I come in? How should I support the Baba's cause? Because Baba wanted us to reach Canaan. Baba's left disciples. Baba's left Joshua's and Caleb and others behind. It is upon the Joshua's and Caleb's to come forward. And no one can fault me for saying, I want to step in and support the movement of our people to Canaan.
Waziri Mbadi, what is your last word on this discussion as we head to a new year? A lot of shifts. Of course, Kenyans are looking at how the economy is going to shift for them so that they can be able to feel it in a positive way. But also a lot of shift in the political space in the country. Next year is going to be quite different as well as we head to 2027. Still a bit of time, but your last word.
My last word is that we should remember where this economy had reached and this country was. We were in a state of economy, as I started by saying, that we were stumbling, actually basically staggering. Everything was not working. The shilling was not stable. Inflation was high. Forex reserves were low. The interest rates were very high. Government was borrowing at 16%, 18%. Right now, all those fundamentals are working better. What we need to do is to allow the government to now focus on how do we build on these gains, which have been even recognized by people out there. We are in an economy where we still need production, productivity. Our young people, instead of walking around politicians, and in fact the starting point should be politicians reduce the number of young, able-bodied people around you. Because look at the people who are moving around with our politicians, starting with John Mbadi. Add to all the ministers, go to governors, go to members of parliament. Those people should be in their chambers doing some productive work for this economy. So we need to reduce the number of people who are idle. And they're not idle because they like or because they want. They are idle because there are no opportunities. So we are creating opportunities for them. Value addition, okay, is our focus as a government. So going to the next year, I would tell you, we have started on a very good trajectory. Our economy is picking up faster than any other economy in the continent, probably. We are going to 5%. From 4.7% last year, we are going to about 5.2. That is 0.5 increase. In the following year, we can even go to a higher percentage. So all this compounded will trickle to the economy. And you will find that people now would be talking about, yes, we are feeling money in our pocket.
Thank you so much, Waziri Mbadi. Appreciate your time and wish you the best for the rest of your tenure here in this office.
Yeah, and pray it is longer. What you want is short.